Welcome to the Boost School podcast,
a place we come to meet the mystery.
an invitation into our deepest, most intimate moments.
Behind the scenes conversations that have never been shared before.
Buckle up.
Enjoy the ride.
One of my favorite quotes is, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else will be added onto you." And so, in the kingdom of God, the kingdom of our union, our mission, this season of our life, that also led us out here into the middle of nowhere to record this podcast and to be in this incubator at this moment in our lives as we are in a living portal of our marriage.
Yeah, we have been deep. I would say we've been taking a really big dose of our own medicine and serving each other and serving the field of our love through this identity shift, transformation. And, it's interesting. I know some people are like, just jump in, get married, do the thing, and then you'll figure it all out afterwards. And I feel like for you and I, we're doing a lot of the deep internal architecture and infrastructure building of our marriage and our union intentionally now before we fully get married. And it's one of the things that I love about us. It's like we are making the devotion and decision to really create this chapter, this rite of passage, this covenant with so much intention. And yeah, this, what we've been calling the union immersion, we've been in it for over a week now, has been so powerful, so deep, so catalyzing from every dimension. We've seen family, we went to Vegas, we've been deep in the desert, we found our wedding venue, we've been in such prayer, and it's like all these things that are, I think, a lot of pieces that have been up for transformation or review in the relationship, they're just like all coming up to the surface. It's almost like the moment we said, yes, we're going into sacred union on this level of marriage, covenant, and forever. It's like our relational field is asking for us to do a deep, deep restructuring of who we want to be inside of that. Who I am as a wife, who you are as a husband, who we are as a family, and how we create together through our kingdom.
Yeah, it's so fascinating and powerful how when there's a calling, a mission, a vision, something that you give your full yes and your full devotion to, it now, I'm just going to use a business as an example, right? Just to make the point here. It now also becomes like a living entity that is inviting, it's like you're creating it, but then it kind of starts creating you, right? And so our marriage is that, and we're using words to the best of our ability to describe like basically everything intensified and accelerated in terms of refinement, in terms of transformation, in terms of things that we were already on the trajectory of together in our union and individually as souls.
Yes.
Within the field. It's like a intelligent field, our marriage. As we've given our devotion and yes to that, it is now accelerating.
Everything's accelerating. It's been insane.
Yeah. And so, another tangible way to describe this is like everything's being lifted up into the kingdom of our union and of our marriage, right? And this sounds premeditated when we talk about it so intelligently. Like we're like, hey, we're going to need to do XYZ before we get married, but it's not that. And that's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, we didn't premeditate this. This was meant to be like a fun journey for us, but then along the way we're like, wait, we're in a full-blown union immersion
right. And so we are following the calling, and it is the intelligence of the divine and the intelligence of the field of our marriage that is creating this dojo for us.
Hmm.
And I think that's important to say because I don't want it to imply that we need to be at a certain level of anything, embodiment, clarity. We got to
Hmm.
get our finances in order, before we step into our marriage. This is not
Hmm.
happening in thought. This is something that we're recognizing as a
Yeah.
calling that's calling us. And as we're in it, then we might see it clearly in the moment.
Hmm.
And so, for example, any unconscious agreements, not unconsciousness in our field, because we all have unconsciousness because we're growing, evolving souls, but any unconscious agreements, ways of being, ways of operating that are in our field, they seem to be getting burned in the cauldron in the fire of our love, transmuted, refined. It's almost like we can't carry that unconscious agreement. And it might even be something that we're conscious of, but we haven't fully said yes to.
I think our souls are designing this. I think God and our souls are designing this whole experience for us. Because like we have, here's let me take it back for a second. None of this was planned. We had some ideas, we had some intentions, we had some places we knew that we would want to go, like to see my family. Other than that, it was like hit the open road and see what comes, where we end up, where God takes us, where we had so many different places that we wanted to go to that we didn't go to. It was just like this unplanned experience, and that's the whole point. Is there's no plans, there's no scripts, there's no rules, there's no it looks like this. It's, what we've been talking about. It's taking the infinite and containing it while giving it space to actually expand and unfold. And simultaneously, this is how we serve our clients when we do immersions, giving ourselves to that. It's felt so easy, effortless, and also so catalyzing in its own way. And yeah, there was no like, okay, we're going to go do this because we're getting ready for marriage. It was just, oh, this is naturally happening because we're on the path into marriage. And a lot of this journey is, we're looking for where are we doing the ceremony and the celebration and going to see family, and all these things that have been existing kind of out in the ethers are pushed right front and center. And
Yeah, so the refinement that's happening in our being and who we are being together in the world, right? In relation to family, in relation to community, in relation to our business, in relation to our creations, we've been on the journey. So this expansion and refinement has already been happening. But what happened is the immensity of light and intelligence that is the field of our marriage took those moments of refinement and supercharged them
yep.
to where maybe things we wouldn't have noticed as much, or we could have kind of been a little bit sloppy with, or kind of like, oh, this it's not that big of a deal. It goes from that to like, absolutely not, screech, pow, and then we're like in the
Hmm.
dojo. And
Yeah.
that's one of the most fascinating things about this, and how I know that it's actually the field of our marriage that's doing that, because it like 10x'd
Yeah.
the process,
Yeah.
10x'd.
Yeah. I've heard people say like, okay, well, once you get married, all this stuff comes up and then you work through it. And I'm sure that for them in their particular blueprint, that's perfect. And I do feel that for us with our union, with our marriage, the way that we're being invited to, and it's even like, okay, it's been 4.5 years, and some people have been like, why are you waiting so long? Just do the thing. And it's like, I feel like our entire relationship, we've been preparing for this moment, for this family, for this marriage, for this covenant, and really deeply intentionally choosing that together. And it's not to say that any other way is wrong. It's just us knowing and choosing that this way is the way that we're being invited. And, just going to be with my family and the deep miraculous ancestral healing that happened there. It's like there's all these things that I feel like are almost like clicking into place for what will happen when the marriage takes place.
Yeah, we can go in and out of different examples because they all deserve their own presence and like reverence. And I want to pop into the family for a moment to keep landing like how we're experiencing this dojo.
Hmm.
So I love what you said. You said it a few days ago. You've said it a couple times. If it doesn't feel like our, or anything that doesn't feel like our union, how did you say it?
Everything we touch has to carry the resonance of our union. Otherwise, it's like it can't exist in our field for very long, or it has a hard time. And this is even stuff with us, like patterns, like, traumas, wounds, things that we've navigated. So it's not just people or family or things, or offerings or a business. It's like every single thing, including this podcast, y'all. We have been recalibrating and restructuring to be in the intention, the resonance, the truth of our union. So everything we touch needs to be in the resonance of our union. That's the kingdom invitation.
Right. So now let's look at that with family and why it accelerated everything. I feel like using that idea, then if we are setting a different standard for who we're being
Hmm.
in the world in relation to your family, then we're existing in separation and we're not in integrity with what you're saying. Right. And so to say that in a more tangible way, there's not really an option other than to meet your family as husband and wife, king, queen at our throne in the kingdom of our union. It doesn't matter what's going on with them, but if we, for example, we're in our union, we're in this covenant energy, right? And then if we, which has happened in the past, if we then enter the energetic field of your family and we enter physically into the environment, and then we're like 80% in our union, 20% kind of like weaving in and out of
Merging with them.
merging with them. That's very innocent, but that's a very tangible example of now when we came into the field the first night to meet with your family, and even an hour before we got here, we already started entering into the energetic field. Any discrepancy between who we're being and standing in the throne, at the throne of our union, already created a dissonance in the field. And
Hmm.
then when we showed up that first night, it was like wild, wild west.
Oh
Like, I
my
mean, it was like
gosh.
a,
It was like it was like a bad comedy movie.
yeah, one of those comedy movies that's so bad that it's funny because it's so bad.
Yeah. Maybe comedy horror if you merged. Horror for me.
Yeah, it was highly entertaining. But my point is that the weirdness of it is the invitation coming to us. Like, are you guys going to be yourselves, husband and wife, king and queen, offer your love and your gifts and your authenticity fully to this environment?
Hmm.
Or are you going to make this an exception and different than the same standard that you hold when you're at home by yourself?
Yeah, and I think that this has been the continual invitation is like no matter where we are, no matter who we're with, no matter the circumstance, no matter what's happening, whether our home just burned down, or we are being offered $1 million deal, or we're with my family, or we're in on stage in front of, 1,000 people,
Hmm.
or like whatever the invitation is, it's stay the same, anchored into each other and God in the union, period. Anytime, and we have tested this, and this has happened through this immersion, anytime, like when we were in Vegas, it's like 5%, 20%, we leave the field of our union because of the environment or the circumstances or the people or the things that are happening around us or in us, then it's like everything gets shaky and wobbly. And one of the most tangible things that I can track is the first night we had dinner with my family. When we pulled up, I was like, okay, we got to get in there. We're going to be late. And it was like we were having dinner right at 7 p.m. I like jumped out of the car to go inside to make sure that we were on time, and it was
And I
already.
was like, and this was the dojo between you and I, because I was like, babe, slow down.
Yep.
Like, come back here. It's
Yeah.
it's it's us first. They'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
They're responding to us. And so there was already a split happening in our field.
Yep.
And I want to throw a not a disclaimer, but I think an important thing to understand here for whatever this may value whoever's listening, the invitation is not to perfection. And that's why I use words like devotion or agreement. So it's not that you have to be able to be 100% yourself for here forever after when you're with family, when you're in the business or when the work. That's not what it is. But any belief or unconscious agreement that we are willing to sacrifice and be in separation, it's the field of our marriage and our union is trying to penetrate and burn the agreement and then give our full devotion, the same way we're giving our vows and our full devotion to our union. It's inviting us to give our full non-negotiable devotion. That's the perfection of it.
Yeah.
Right? See, then we're not negotiating with the belief in separation that might have us go, oh, it's the community or it's the family. It's okay if we go into separation. It's the belief that is getting dissolved, and that sets a foundation. And it's more about the foundation. The foundation's the perfection. So then that to me is a vow. It's an agreement. So it doesn't mean that we're never going to slip up and for here ever after we're going to be perfectly residing in the field of our union. But what it does mean is that if we do slip out of that, our devotion is an automatic, unconditional, non-negotiable yes to course correct. So there's no more negotiation. There's no more investment in the separation. And to me, that's the covenant. That's the vow. So I just wanted to state that so we don't paint a picture that, we're trying to come into some perfected state or we can't do anything.
No, it's not about perfection. It's always about devotion. And it's like, we look at all of it as perfect, even in the moments where when we're like out of the field and we're being invited back in. I think one of the things that's really important for us is that this is our work in the world. So it's like a union is our work, right? This is like our legacy. This is our mission. So I would say we get worked, taken through, and refined in that in probably the deepest way. Just the same way that I'm sure somebody who is a pastor or they're really deeply, their work is very focused in Jesus and religious teachings, like they're going to get worked in that in a different way. The same way somebody's work is through money, they're going to get worked in that a different way. And so for us, it's like the union field, the relationship is our church. This is the place that we go to learn the most. This is the place that we go to experience and receive God. This is the place that we come back to every single day to be in refinement and devotion to love. And so it's like there's nowhere else to go. And I think that that's one of the gifts that marriage brings us, and one of the gifts that marriage offers is that in this day and age, too many people are like, once it gets really intense and really hard and really difficult to sit in the fire, people just break up, they run away, they divorce. And to me, marriage is that covenant where you're willing to sit in the fire of anything and everything that happens in life together and navigate it and do it together. Discover each other through different seasons and iterations and not run away when it gets really hard.
Amen.
Something that came to light through this entire journey is how we want to be in service and how we want to serve couples in union. We desire to be in full service and to actually dissolve the word client entirely and come into what feels like family.
Everything is welcome here. There are no limits. Truly operating in co-creation with other and with God. That limitless creation is what makes the infinite like nothing we've offered before. We're meeting in a space of divine union, beyond labels, beyond roles, coach, mentor, client, all of these different things, and truly in a space of devotional service, full spectrum with all of our gifts, our resources, and family.
So we are inviting you If you are in a season, in a moment, in a chapter of deep recalibration and service through your union, and you two are here to birth something really beautiful together, and you want to be held in that entirely, fully, all the way through your family, through your company, through your finances, through every facet of your lives together, we are here to be in service to that through the infinite.
And if that resonates, if that sparks something in your soul, reach out to us and we can explore the possibility of being in co-creation with you.
Yes, we love you.
Love you.
This year has gifted us some of those moments, like losing our home. It's just brought us closer together, you know?
Yeah, that's a great example. I remember the legendary moment where you were probably at one of the most challenging moments emotionally, energetically after losing our home, and you made the decision to continue with your call and to be in service. And you essentially showed yourself that through this field of devotion, you were able to be of service while at the same time having, all of this destruction happening
Mm-hmm.
in and around you. So that's an example of transcendence. Such a perfect, tangible example of everything that we're speaking about here, and like the power of truth and the power of our union is that, as challenging as it was the first night to remain in union, remain in your center, remain in our power, like the whole experience of that being challenged, however you experience that, just to prove the point of this covenant, instead of going like reacting to it or like going into a deep process about, well, this is just how it is with my family, and maybe we can process this, maybe we can feel more powerful going into dinner the second night. What we actually did was we went deep into the devotional field of our union, of our marriage, and with the power of our will, or our surrender to that, because that was my assessment of the simplest point, is not to respond or to react, but to accept the calling that we didn't accept the first night. And so I could feel that, yes, in that devotional, like everything shifted in a moment. And there was no more conversation. There was no processing. We didn't change them. We didn't change us. But we said full yes. And then we went back in the second night and then the day after, and it was miraculous.
Yeah, it was a night and day difference. It was like the field was recalibrating around us, which is one of my teachings. And I would say that specifically when I'm with my family, it's always been the one place where I've struggled the most. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can shift the field, but when I'm with my family, it's just too much. It's too dense. It's too wild. And it was so cool to see how when we were anchored in our love and with God and in our prayer, and we moved into conversations and dinner and anything, it was like everything was different. Nervous system recalibration. It was so cool to be in the experience of. And I that was my prayer with going to see my family, was to feel that with you, to feel our love impact my family.
And I would say that that's the mission, and that energy that we're describing of the kingdom, of being the king and the queen at our own throne, it is the energy of our covenant, of our marriage,
Yeah.
right? And there's something so powerful about when we're choosing devoting to reside in truth and love, because then there's no reaction. It's not the people out there changing. In fact, it's the full acceptance of the people. But then once we're in the acceptance and we're fully in love, then we're also fully answering the calling to the expression and service of our love. And that was the thing that didn't come through the first night. Not as a means of changing them, but just who we are in our union, how we are with each other, how we are with our clients. It's actually just who we are. And so innocently, we were withholding our gifts by trying to like merge with the field and be in relationship. Whereas when we're in the kingdom and we're in right relationship with our hearts and with God and with truth and with love, then it allowed us to not only not react, but to give our gifts. And, even like so the second night was radically different. And then the day after that, there was a calling. We had planned to leave at a certain time, and there was another calling in the field. You said, I want to spend some time with my mom. And we responded to that calling and spent a day with your mom, and so much healing happened there. And we were grounded in love and grounded in our union and grounded in the fulfillment of the service that was being called for. So even it's like your mom appeared to be different.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was a radical transformation that I experienced. I felt my mom, my mom doesn't cry a lot. She just holds her emotion back, and she shared with me once that she's afraid that if she cries, she'll never stop.
I've heard you say that before.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she was in tears, sobbing, and the last time I felt her cry like this was when my grandmother passed away, actually, her mom. And I knew the moment I felt her in that state of being was like, oh, cancel the day, whatever else. It's the same way that if you needed me, I would be like, okay, I'm there, whatever needs to happen, cancel calls, cancel the day, cancel the plans. We're doing whatever we need to do to go and be in service to my mom. And that's what we did. We just completely shifted all of our plans to go and love my mom up. And I felt the calling of, on the way to my families, we were talking about how we're in such devotion to union and to our family and to our legacy and to our children. And I'm like, wait, but we haven't given this kind of devotion to our family, to specifically like the elders in our family, to those who are, they're already existing in our family. I always think of it as the future family. It's like, no, you and I and love and God have the power to transform the existing bloodline, to shift the bloodline backward and forward.
That's so powerful.
And I've seen in our relationship, specifically in the last 4 years, many miracles, generational curses broken, ancestral healing, deep love and connection. The way that I experienced my mom this time around was the first time I wasn't triggered by her, because so many of the things that she does, so many of her mannerisms, so many of her patterns, I have in the past always been so triggered by her. And it's hard for me to be with her because I can feel her. I feel her every thought, her every emotion, her every insecurity. It's like we're so connected. And this time around, I felt me in her. And it was like every time before I was judging myself and judging her and holding both of us hostage in my judgment of her. And with this experience, I was, we prayed right before we got into town. I said, God, help me see my mom through your eyes, through the perception of unconditional love. And it was like that the whole time I was with her. Every moment, it was like I was seeing her with the purest eyes. I could see her. I saw her as a little girl. I saw her love. I saw her heart. I saw her fear. And I think that actually not every time I've been with her before, I've always wanted to change her. I've always wanted her to be different. I've always wanted her to, and it was like this, the love of me just wanting just to be with her, to love her exactly as she is. I think that was one of the things that was moving her so much to tears. I was like, please don't leave. We're finally right here.
Yeah, it was so beautiful to witness and to feel in her and you and us. And, it's kind of like you saying about relationship getting to a point of difficulty. It can be so easy to just, oh, time to break up, right? It's the same thing with family.
It's
I,
so the same thing with
I,
family.
I think the way it happens in family relationally is like, okay, we're getting married now. We're gonna create our own family. You know, you guys do you. We'll invite you over for Christmas and for dinner. And that may look like that in physical reality,
Yeah.
but if we're not holding our relationship to our family in the same standard, the same energy of unconditional love and being in union, available to be in union, and that's independent of whether or not they ever responded or met us in there. But if we are holding an idea that, well, we can't stand in union with them because it's hard, then we're creating separation. And if we were to get married in that, then every time we visited them, we would it's like we would no longer energetically be husband and wife because we can be expanding and contracting. And
Exactly.
that's not going to happen.
And I think that's how a lot of people operate
Yeah.
with their family.
Yeah.
When they get married or not, it's like that. And I feel this, it's like the same thing that we're talking about our marriage and our union accelerating all of these things around us. I noticed this when we fell in love. It was like when we fell in love, the frequency of our love purified everything in my life that was not in resonance with that depth of unconditional, ungovernable love, which meant I went through the most intense purification of my life. And I feel the same thing happening with every dimension of our lives right now with the marriage. And in that, it's showing where separation does exist, which for me, the place where I've withheld my love and devotion the most has been my family. I've separated myself. I've gone when it's been comfortable. It's like true union it transcends just this like you and I, and it's meant to impact the family, the community, the bloodline, everything it touches. It comes back to that. Everything we touch, our family, our business, our offerings, our podcast, our team, everything we touch is being invited into this frequency of union. And so it's like wherever the separation has existed is being illuminated, and there can be no exceptions. There can be no exceptions. It doesn't matter. If I told you the things that my family and I have been through and the things that personally my mom and I have been through, you would be like, you should not forgive her. Do not, all these things. And it's like, no, there can be no exceptions. This is the place that we do the deepest work. We learn to love one another despite what we've been through, no matter what's happened. Like, this is the invitation of union. There can be no exceptions. There can be no conditions. There can be no relationship that goes untouched. And this means that you must be willing to meet that place where the separation is still existing inside of yourself and within the bloodline.
Amen. And the agreements, the covenant, it's almost like everything is being calibrated into our covenant because we can't separate it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like, well, we have a covenant in our relationship, but the covenant is the devotion.
And
it's not the perfection, it's the devotion, it's the decision, it's the availability, because that doesn't waver for us. And so it if we're in an agreement unconsciously that, well, it's okay if we waver, not them, not the business, not the family, but it's okay if we're not available, if our devotion is wavering. It's okay over here, because with us it is absolutely not okay, which is also why our love is unconditional and our experience of our love growing, evolving, expanding is limitless. It's because there's no exception to our devotion, and that's the real covenant.
Yes.
And that's the same thing with why, like, our creations together within the field of our union, my business, your business, our business, all of our creations, anything that there is an investment in separation, not separation happening, because that will happen, but the investment, the willingness, the openness to be like, oh, it's okay if I go off and do my own thing. There's nothing wrong with you doing your own thing, but if you doing your own thing shifts you into a different frequency that is creating separation in our union. It doesn't matter how brilliant the idea is, it's the actual frequency of separation. And those things, that's also been part of this dojo, is everything we're creating in our business is being purified and refined into the frequency field of our marriage, and any unconscious agreements, willingness, openness to be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, maybe with this creation, it's anywhere we're not holding the same standard, because our standards for our love, they're not, they're devotional. There's no but.
There's no but.
And which is why if we fall off, it doesn't take much time, because we know where we're going. It's like we are willing to die for that, and that's devotion. And so little areas in our business or with family or with anything.
Yeah, I'd love to speak on that. The same way that it's like, oh, if I have to leave us to be connected to my family, that's not sustainable in a marriage. And same thing with if I go off and create a project or do something that requires me to leave us, it's not sustainable in a marriage. And that's why you see a lot of times, especially in like, you know, any industry, but we'll just work with the coaching industry for right now. That's why you see when women build these massive businesses and have so much success, they'll simultaneously go through a divorce or a breakup or something like that, because they had to leave the relationship to go and create the success. And what we're building here through us is a home and a foundation and a covenant where everything that we create, even if it's our own individual dreams, is anchored in through us. And so I really appreciate you saying that, because that has been a deep illumination, and it's been something that I've tested many times. I don't even have to wonder if this is true. I know.
Right.
I know. And it's like this invitation to anchor here first, no matter what it is that we're connecting with or creating. We stay in the field of our union and our marriage and the covenant of our marriage, and we move through the world that way, and we allow everything else to shift around us. We do not shift based on the environment, the circumstances, the people, the industry. It doesn't matter. The industry shifts around us, and that's the whole invitation is, we are here to shift industries. We're here to shift conversations. We're here to shift the idea of what marriage is. Everything shifts around us based on who we're being, not based on what's been, not based on our family, not based on divorce. Both of our parents have been divorced. What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything for us. That means that we get to create a new story. You know, the idea that we need to change based on who we're with or what conversation we're having, or if I'm talking to my mom, or now I'm online, or now whatever it might be, the idea that I need to change, or that somebody else can't change, like my mom can't change, the idea that God help me say this the way I want to say it.
I can say it too. I know what you're trying to say. Yeah.
It's the belief that God is not, that person and that idea and that story and that trauma and that wound and that thing that's lived in the bloodline is more powerful than God. That anytime that we start to believe and we're in agreement with that, that is what's dangerous. And that's what we're saying here that just happened with my mom, is we're like, no, we're not in agreement with that. We're in agreement with God has the power to transform us first, our atmosphere first, our relationship first. And because we give ourselves to that every single day,
amen,
then wherever we go, that place, that relationship, that home can be transformed.
Amen. That gets right to the heart of what I mean by covenant, by agreement, and why it's not perfection, it's devotion, right? It's not the challenge, because the truth is, man, it might feel challenging to be myself, to be ourselves in this environment or with family or in the presence of this. That's honest. That's humble.
Yeah.
But as soon as we take the bite off of the apple of or whatever, some Garden of Eden analogy here, as soon as we believe that, because it feels so hard or impossible, as soon as we agree even slightly that it's impossible, we literally separate ourselves and we go out of union with God. We go out of union with truth.
Exactly.
Whether it's about ourselves, like I can't,
and you'll,
or it's you're projecting it onto another person, because two things are simultaneously true. It's God's business. It's not our business to try to change anyone. However, if we look at them and behold them and say,
That person will
man,
never
that person
change.
will never change, we're out of union with God, because that is not our business. We don't know that, and we create separation in ourselves as soon as we believe that. And that's such a key piece. It's not the experience of it being hard. As soon as we crystallize that perception into a belief and be like, that person will never change, we're not only we're cutting ourselves off from God, and we're looking through separation.
Yep.
And then we are creating in us
And we're creating
separation. And that, yeah, so we're talking about the humble offering of the release of any investment in any agreement that that's the truth.
Yep.
And being more in the truth of like, okay, it's hard or terrifying even, but it can be hard and we can still agree with what's true and be available for the truth. And yeah, so powerful. And that's where the miracles happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Not when you need someone to change.
Exactly.
But when you're also not in agreement with the idea that they never can, and that God is not working and placing his hands on every moment of your life. You know, I knew that going in. I knew there was a reason why we were called here. We're in Utah. I never want to come to Utah. Now all of a sudden there's just like so many things that are opening up in this decision to get married. And one of the deepest ones is, you know, we're merging ancestral lines. We're merging bloodlines. And in that, we are also being given the gift and the opportunity to heal any of the wounding that's currently existing in the bloodline. And that's just such a beautiful gift. It's a responsibility. It's a devotion. I feel like to be able to see what happened with my mom the other day, to have that moment with her, I've waited my whole life to have that moment with her. You know? It's like, it doesn't matter how long it takes or what's happened.
Yeah. And that moment to the version of you that was in separation or not all in would seem like impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so powerful and miraculous to see that the miracle that unfolded did not come from trying to change anything.
Yeah. Yeah. But loving it. Just literally loving it entirely. That's literally one chapter of our journey, and there's been at least probably 5 of those particular moments of deep, miraculous recalibration and transformation in this decision and devotion to marriage and in this union immersion. And
yeah, another one that was really potent in my heart is my heart, right? And what I shared with you when we were in Vegas, and you asked me to share my truth or my heart, and then when I shared it, like the kind of heartbreak that was happening in my heart, it triggered the part of you that's like, is something wrong? And what I shared with you is that, like, we have to be with this. It doesn't, it's not in, it doesn't matter how hard it is. We have to be with it. Otherwise, there's an unconscious agreement that if it gets too hard, we're going to run, diverge, which then reinforces the belief, the lie that you can't fully take me in once it gets to a certain level of difficulty. And that's where I was saying, I was like, I wasn't feeling the devotion, because once you have the devotion, that's it. That's the agreement. That's the covenant that you're making. And that changes everything. And so the sensation that I had, not consciously, not like you would ever behold me in this way, but the sensation I had was in the middle of in the density of it was like, oh, there's not an all in,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's when it becomes transcendent, and then the field wraps around both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was another big one.
Mm-hmm.
And that came up a couple of times just in me sharing the depth of my heart and you being intimate and transparent with like heartbreak energy happening inside me,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to permeate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is another really massive moment because it's something that we've been navigating in our relationship probably, you know, from the beginning, is this moment where you're upset and you being upset upsets me. And it's like, we like to say the field of love holds it all. And in this particular moment, we hadn't quite crossed the threshold of me actually being able to fully be with you in a moment of heartbreak without it taking me into collapse or trigger. And so this was a really important moment because it's like this particular pattern again cannot continue in the marriage.
The agreement cannot come into the agreement would be the lie.
The agreement would be, I don't have the capacity to hold
Right.
you in your heartbreak. It's not true. Again, here's the other moment where can we invite God in? Can we trust the intelligence of love and, not need each other to change? There's not a formula here, but there are some constants that support a moment like this. And it's like we can't be in agreement with that moving forward if we want to have a healthy, beautiful marriage, lifelong marriage, because every part of you has to be included, especially the moments where you're having a moment of hurt or pain or heartbreak. And I think because they're so rare when they happen, it's so massive. I'm like, shoot. Or it's really upset. And like, you take it all the way, you really allow yourself to feel entirely. And because I can feel you and what you're feeling, and I'm so empathic, then all of a sudden I'm holding what you're experiencing, and I'm trying to also feel what I'm experiencing, but like love you in that. And so it was
Well,
such a great moment.
yeah, and that's therein lies the invitation and the lesson. It's like I am trying to hold it. So this
Right.
is where the field of love and union will, in the best way, annihilate the I,
And
right?
give it.
Because it's, and this is what demolishes the belief. Because it's like I can't hold all this sensation, but it's the I.
Yeah.
But that's the I that's creating the separation. Then it's like, oh, I have to kind of like either sacrifice myself and what I'm feeling, or kind of innocently protect myself and not be. But you see, it's the I. And so devotion or surrender instantaneously,
Yeah.
but that's a point of death is what I'm saying, to the
And
the identity that's like, this is too much sensation.
it's like if you could only imagine the worst circumstance. Like we are on the strip in Las Vegas. It's like 10 p.m. There's cops, there's lights, there's music, there like anything and everything in terms of distraction,
Police
distortion,
sirens.
confusion, illusion is in every direction, and I'm being asked to be in the field of all of that, simultaneously hold you. And I did a pretty good job for like probably 30 minutes. And then I reached my capacity in like all the sensations around me and all the sensations that I was feeling around you and me. And then it was like, hit my edge, and it was an important illumination because it was the moment where it's like, oh, this is where your capacity is. Like you're seeing where you're trying to hold it by yourself, exactly what you're talking about. And I remember internally doing my best to pray, but simultaneously, it's like that can only truly exist, and you can only take prayer so far if you believe in the prayer that you're speaking. And because part of me was navigating managing my own sensation, I couldn't give myself fully to you or the prayer.
Right. So what's the belief behind managing your sensation? It's innocent, but what must you be believing that has you believe that, well, put it this way, if I don't manage my sensation, what are you projecting that would happen? Because whatever the answer is to that question is the thing that's not the truth. What do you believe would happen if you stop managing?
I might explode.
That's
I don't
right.
know. Yeah, that's what it feels like. It's like, can I hold all this sensation and emotion and energy?
Right. Thank you for answering that. But can you, like, you're present in this right
Yeah.
now, can you feel that that's not the truth?
Yeah.
The I that would explode is still some version of you that is in fear.
Yeah.
Otherwise, look at babies, unlimited capacity of sensation.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how intense the feeling is, there's no edge in
Yeah.
their capacity. So it's just pointing to the fabric of the lie, the
Yeah.
belief, right? So it's like it's coming from love, it's self-preservation, but the belief is that if I let go and give this to God, if I surrender, if I allow all of this sensation, then something negative is going to happen. And
Mm-hmm.
that belief is the thing that creates separation inside you, then creates separation, and it's like me or you. And then your body's in your nervous system, everything's responding to that. But the miracle is the shift in perception. It's like, that's not actually true.
Mm-hmm.
I won't die. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
everything will be okay because God's not overwhelmed. Love is not overwhelmed. And if you surrender to love, surrender to God, then you're resting in the field that's holding it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like we transformed this. Like we completely transformed the unconscious agreement into a new agreement.
I agree.
And that was part of that was part of the immersion.
And that's where, like, I was like, it doesn't matter how long, how difficult, like there is not actually another option here.
I love
Do
when
you know what
you
I
do
mean?
that. I love when you're like, I don't care if we have to sit here all day. Like you will love me. I will have my space. And I really appreciate you in that because it's in that moment when you say that I realize there is nothing else that matters. Like we don't want to put this off to another time when I'm more comfortable, when we're not in Vegas, when
Right.
everything isn't going crazy. Like there is not ever going to be a better time. And I think those particular relationship pieces, they loop until you complete them.
And I feel like, I say listen to the whispers before they become screams. The whispers are the invitations. And sometimes if you can't do it when it's cushy, like there's not a lot of extra challenge in your environment, if you're not saying yes, then sometimes the divine will turn up the heat. It's like, okay, well now you're going to have to do it
Yep.
in the
Yep.
most
Yep.
challenging
Yes.
environment
Yes.
to penetrate through the
I
thing, right?
I yep, I've
And
learned that.
yeah, and that's kind of how I was feeling in the moment. And just to be clear, I'm saying that about myself, but I'm saying it from unity. I'm not saying I'm not extending the exact same thing to you. I'm
Well, and
like
you do.
I'm like whatever's going on in you that's having you innocently
Yeah.
not hold me, the love extends there too. So there's not actually any separation.
Yep.
I'm just saying, like, I know that this is our edge and it's happening through me right now. And
Yep.
I'm like, not just for me, but for us. I'm
Yep.
like, there is nowhere to go.
Yep.
And yeah, I would wish that level of self-love upon anybody.
Yeah.
And yeah, it extends in both directions. I treat you the exact same way. I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's hard or difficult or fearful. I can still say yes to what I know to be true, which is I am supposed to, not like I am. Who I am is that I love you. Who I am is that God in me, my true self, can hold all of you and all of your emotions. And so, yeah, I'm gonna slip, trip, stumble, fall, but here's the thing that I think is the real secret sauce, because I'm not perfect, but I will say my devotion is impenetrable.
I've never.
So that you
Yeah.
will never hear me say, but
I
I can't,
can't.
I can't. I'm just
You've
like, I might be
never.
like, this is hard. And to me, that's devotion. It's the same mama bear frequency when
Yeah.
a mom's like, I don't care how hard it is. I could be terrified. I'm taking care of my children and that's it. That's devotion.
I think that's why when you ask for something or you request something, it's like I'm a yes because you are such a stand for that, for me, for us, for life, whatever it might be that you're asking for, you exist in that so powerfully. There's no dissonance or lack of integrity in anything that you ask for. You embody it and live it so deeply that it's like every part of me is like, okay, yes. And I feel like you did this when we were with my family. There was a moment where everybody was talking and laughing and cussing and drinking all around us, and you were just like, here,
Yeah,
right now.
I looked at you several times in the middle of it. I was just like, hey, boo, boo, boo.
Stay.
Because I watched you like being washed around by the energy of people going, look at me, listen to me, listen to me,
Yeah.
and like going off of your center and therefore off of our center. I was like, babe,
Yeah.
to the point that I'm like, this is all a dream, right? And like I started like pop locking and like dancing in the middle because I'm like, I wanted to show you that I'm like, everybody's doing whatever the fuck they want
Yeah.
anyway.
Everybody's
So
creating their
why
own
are
reality.
you people pleasing and leaving the union? I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's also was like why it was entertaining to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That was a good moment.
One other thing on our walk over here that I wanted to drop in here that's in this whole transmission of the kingdom and union
Mm-hmm.
is essentially we all are being called into our own unity with ourselves, our true selves, with God, and that's another way to describe the kingdom. Is we're talking about how one can be in this world and not of this world, meaning like define something like, oh, now we're a couple, now we're getting married, now we have a we've created an entity, a business, we've bought something into form, we've created a container. But how to the dance, the invitation, the bridge between heaven and earth is that we create the container, the structure, but the structure is dynamic, which means it's still infinite. So to be infinite by way of the finite, to create a sacred container of relationship, of marriage, of a business, but God to still have his hand, our infinite, limitless, true self being at the helm. And so containers that are infinite.
Yeah.
They contain, but they don't limit.
Yeah, this started when I was sharing about, I was working with a client earlier this week, and she said, our relationship, she's in this relationship, and she said this relationship was so amazing, and the moment that they defined it and set it in stone and placed it in a container, it got sticky. And I shared with her, I said, it's not because you defined it or you gave yourself fully to one another. It's whatever definition you have of a relationship is not actually holding the intelligence of your love, the truth of your blueprint. And that's what happens to a lot of people when it comes to marriage. That's why people say the old ball and chain. It's because their definition of what marriage is
different than truth. It's different than God's. It's different than who we are in God, which is limitless. And we talked about this in one of our viral reels about, the imaginary conflict between the man wanting, his freedom and the woman wanting this sacred devotion.
Commitment.
And in truth, in God, there is no conflict, but who it requires you to be such that you don't experience a conflict and go into the belief that, oh, once I'm in relationship, I can't fully be myself. I can't be all of me. Like we all experience that, but it's not the truth. And as soon as we believe that it's the truth, we're literally going to set up from our higher selves a dojo, a lesson, a collapse to invite us right back into the truth. So
yeah, I always go back to the beginning of our relationship and how it was the first time in dating I didn't place you in a box. I didn't check off a list. I wasn't like, okay, this is who Oren is to me. And I always say this because I didn't need you to be anything for me. You became everything to me and more than I could have ever imagined. And it's because I didn't try it's because I didn't try to contain you in a box of boyfriend, relationship, this, that. It naturally happened. And I think that that's one of the cool things about this whole union immersion is we're out here doing this deep work to recalibrate our field and clear unconscious agreements. And you know what that's actually doing? It's creating more limitlessness in our relationship. It's creating more space. It's actually creating more of a field of boundlessness in our love. So we're actually going into marriage, creating this covenant while simultaneously creating more space for our eternal love.
Right. So relationship, marriage, in the purest essence of it, only should bring you into more of yourself, into more limitlessness, closer to God.
That's what
If
union
if
is.
it's not bringing you closer to God, closer to your soul, then you have an idea about relationship that is holding you separate and out of union with your soul, out of union with the divine.
Yeah. When you try to fit your relationship into a box or a blueprint or a relational design that actually exists to somebody else, and this is what we see so often in society, your marriage into a box, into this is what we do, your polarity, the beauty of your union into masculine, feminine roles that maybe actually don't work for you two because your relationship has such a unique and specific design. Like, be curious about discovering what that is. I mean, this is what Oren and I do. This is what we love. We love supporting couples and clients in really discovering their unique blueprint, is what we call it, the blueprint. And it's like, no, you're not supposed to feel constrained and suffocated and limited and like, well, now my life is over because I've committed to one person. Commitment creates, so when you choose someone fully, it creates so much freedom. It's meant to create so much freedom
Yes.
for both of you because all these other options that were existing now are dissolved. But in that freedom in continuing to choose one another, you also devote to choosing to meet each other anew every single day and devote to meeting the infinite in one another. That's union. That's union.
Amen. And that is when a relationship truly becomes limitless, not just as a sensation, but as a lived reality of anything can be created. Just like with God, all things are possible. When we're residing in our union, then we're literally living in a field of intelligence that is limitless. And so what can be created through our love and through our union becomes limitless. Like actually,
Amen.
like literally, like
Amen.
anything we want to, that we imagine and want to create,
Yeah.
we experience. So that's the other part of love. Like love, the state of love, the consciousness of love, the state of union is limitless, and that's when we get to experience the limitlessness that we feel when we're, in love or in the heavens, and bring it all the way down to the earth, where there's like any perceived limitation in our business, in our brand, in any facet is only going to show us that you're holding an idea of separation,
An identity.
an identity, and
You're holding on to the past.
and then that's when you will then be living in the created limitation
Yep.
in your life.
And that's the gift of your love. That's, that's what union is designed for, is to like almost envelop those illusions and we would say the field of love holds it all. And when we talk about that, we talk about the technology of your union. If you imagine that there is a living force field that exists around you too, that is fortified by God and by your love, within that, it's actually meant to take in, swallow, envelop illusion, contortion, confusion, any identities that are existing in separation. That's the gift of it. And it like swallows and transforms and illuminates and creates a new story.
Yes.
And you become, I feel like the thing is I become more of myself with you every day.
It should be that way.
I don't ever feel like I'm like, oh, I've lost myself, or I've lost. You're like, dance more, create more,
to
do
me,
this.
to me, when you're in devotion and you're on the path of union with source, union with self, union with your partner, you don't lose yourself, you only become more of yourself, and you don't inherit limitations, you only become more limitless if you're on the path. And so how we use limitation, because it's not that we don't ever experience like, oh, we're experiencing like a lack of something, time, money, energy. It's not that we don't ever experience that. It's that we take that. We don't believe that it's solid. We don't believe that it's true. So we take it as another gift, another invitation, another portal into more of God in the truth and back into more limitless.
To
and that
liberate the union field, to liberate the field of our love, to create more creation, to be in more creation,
Yes.
to create more creation, to be in creation, to be in creational devotion to life itself.
Yes, I think that's so cool and so significant that with emotional challenges, people call them problems, we engage them as portals, as gifts, as
Yes.
invitations, right? But it's the same thing with, instead of an emotional challenge, a limitation, we see that as like, oh, we're at the edge of, like, there's something in our field, our consciousness, that is holding a belief, a perception, an idea that is not the same perception as God, as our true self. And so we don't go, oh, what are we gonna do? We can't. It's like,
I love how you say the edge of your capacity is the edge of your identity.
Yes.
That's Orrin Harris, everybody.
The edge, the edge of your capacity, the moment at which you experience the perception of lack. I don't have any more love to give. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy. I don't have enough money. Right at that same exact moment, that is the identity, assumed identity that you are holding yourself in, and that it's the identity that's experiencing it. And when you open, when you expand, when you shift into the broader context of who you are, which is love, which is a child of God, which is limitless, then literally that capacity expands. And so this idea of how much capacity we have, it's not a solid thing, because it's all dependent on our proximity to God and truth.
Well, and when you merge with another being, you create an identity in your union. And so when that's happening, when you're hitting up against the edge of your capacity, the edge of your field, the edge of the capacity and the identity of your union, that's when you'll receive those problems, those triggers,
Right.
those invitations.
I got something so good, and this is another one of our codes, or union things: love and success, just like freedom and devotion. A perfect example would be, and I think a lot of people relate to this, it's like the king, the king of the house, who's on his mission, in his business, and let's say he's like, man, he's in a grind season. And so he's like spending more time at work. Okay, understandable. But what happens, where the separation happens, and help me land this if need be, is as soon as he believes that he cannot have the same level of presence and devotion and standard of excellence, and this must happen, energy in his mission, as soon as he believes that he as a being cannot offer that same level of devotion to his love, to his children, there's separation.
Yep.
And compassion for the difficulty or the challenge, that to me is the responsibility of like, okay, I accept the challenge of the truth.
Yes.
But as soon as he believes, or both people believe that, oh, it's okay, honey, you can't be, I know you can't be as present with me.
Yeah.
That's where we separate ourselves from God.
Yeah.
And that's why some people believe then you can't have extraordinary success and extraordinary love at the same time. It has to be one or the other, or it has to be one then the other. And again, that is not our identity in God that is saying that. That is not our identity in our true self. It's our identity in the world. And then once we're in the container of that identity that's held by that belief that you have to sacrifice, you have to compromise, you can't, then now we're literally assuming ourselves into a container, and then it proves itself to be true because we run out of energy, we run out of time. We're like, babe, I can't be
and it will be
truthful with you, as if you, it takes any energy to be truthful, to be vulnerable, to be present.
The interesting thing about that is it will be the continual invitation in the relationship, and it will actually feel more exhausting to not give yourself to that, to be existing in separation, to fully going on the mission but not into the family, it will actually, at some point, it will be exhausting because you've compartmentalized yourself and you've created these different identities that you exist inside of instead of it all being one.
Right. And for it to all be one, for you to accept the truth where it can all be one, it requires some sort of ego death or identity expansion. And that can be challenging sometimes.
Yeah.
And, a practical question one can ask themselves to just understand this more is, well, who do I need to become, or who do I need to be such that I can have the same level of presence and passion in my relationship with my kids, with my wife,
Yeah.
when I'm making love, as I do at work, and vice versa. For some
Yeah.
people, it's the other way around. It's
Yeah.
like their love, it's just like uncompromising devotion to like presence and intimacy, but then at work it's like, oh well, this is my team. But God's still going to invite us. Can you have the same level of truth,
Yep.
the same level of authenticity, the same level of intimacy? We create differences, and when we create differences, we split ourselves and we take ourselves out of unity.
Yeah.
And if we ever try then to figure out the balance or life work balance from the belief that it can't be balanced, it's like we never find it. And so we just maneuver. I'll just portion my energy here, but that is holding ourselves in separation. But if we humbly, passionately say yes, even though we don't know how to figure out how to execute it, then what happens is everything gets calibrated into the field of union and gets lifted up into the same standard of truth. And then you literally become the person, the container that actually can show you what it looks like to be yourself fully and to be in abundance and love fully, full spectrum.
Yep.
So that's why I said, if a man holds a different standard in his mission or in his relationship that he does with his mission, even though he might be, well, I'm doing this so I can be successful, so I can provide for my family, he's actually limiting the full capacity of his provision, because in order to make that distinction or separation, he has to cut himself off from source to some degree. And so the full provision, even if he's like, I'm giving 100% of what I have, but full provision doesn't come until you're giving 100% of what God can create through you. That's full provision, and that requires no division. And you do have division if you believe that love and success, they can't be. That's a human perception.
Yeah.
Misperception.
Yeah.
Let's
Amen.
go. Amen.
Take us to church.
All right. I think we landed the ship there.
We landed the ship. Yeah. Our invitation is to continue to anchor in God through our union into this earth, and to continue to create a boundless field of love.
One of the most exciting, well, it's all exciting to me, but areas that this is grounding itself in real time is with our service and our clients.
Yeah.
And so the dynamic partnership is the same exact thing.
Yeah, that's what happened.
It's like, well, where are you creating a different idea, a different standard,
a different offering,
a different,
where you're only half of yourself.
right? So that frequency of union is also infiltrating our containers, our idea of coaching, mentoring, facilitating. So we're essentially bringing the frequency of union into the container. So the container of our service is lifted up into the kingdom towards more limitless, like our union.
Yeah.
The same texture of unconditional love and limitlessness requires that we dissolve any conscious or unconscious ideas of separation about, this is what it means to be a coach, or, any kind of hierarchy, anything that's involving
Identity.
separation. The frequency of God and union is infiltrating everything. And for us right now, I'm excited because we're answering that call.
Yeah.
And that's what's created these legacy partnerships, these dynamic partnerships, where we're bringing a more full spectrum service and co-creation and collaboration to our clients.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been another moment of the union immersion is, we're in the moment of redesigning our entire offer suite and taking everything off and choosing to serve in this way, because coming all the way back to the beginning, everything we touch must exist within the resonance of our union, the field of our union. And there were so many beautiful offerings and things that we've created, and to be completely honest, they weren't scratching the surface fully of what we gift and what we are capable of and how we create, because we watch what happens when we work with each other this way.
Right.
And also when in the beautiful moments that a client has met us in this field, it is exponential, it is miraculous, it is absolutely insane, because again, bridging the containing and taking something that's so infinite and creating a container that actually is designed to continue to expand and grow and evolve together. And so it's taking the field of our union and actually designing containers that feel that way, which is the dynamic partnership, which is dissolving okay, we meet weekly on Zoom and we have this space and we'll have one immersion, or we have a course or an offering that's very specific. It's like, no, you get access to the fullness, the full spectrum of everything that we are and everything that we offer. And it's dissolving the hierarchy of, client, mentor. It's coming into
dissolving
synarchy.
the limitation of time and space, that this love, this co-creation, collaboration can only exist within this structure of the hour when we meet. But then when the hour is gone, then we're no longer fully present in the field and bringing it.
Yeah,
I'm stoked about that.
I know. Yeah, when we've worked with clients and it's touched this, it's so powerful what happens. And it really is, on some level, the people who choose to say yes to moving in this way, they resonate with union, they resonate with God, they resonate with truth, they resonate with being in a field that feels infinite and boundless and limitless in a sense. They resonate with being limitless beings. And so probably they've always felt like they've touched up against the edges of every container and mentorship and space they've ever existed inside of, because at some point a soul like that will feel like, this isn't quite taking me all the way. And so it's been so fun to design these spaces and partnerships where we get to be in full evolution together.
Amen.
Amen.
And so it is.
And so it is. May everything that we touch and create and birth into this world be in the field of our union. And that's our devotion. That's our vow to one another.
Amen.
Amen. I love you.
I love you.
I'm excited to marry you.
I'm excited to marry you. You may kiss the bride.
We may or may not be getting married out here somewhere in the desert, but
well, stay
that is
tuned.
to come.
That's cool. Peace.